Wonderful. Well, welcome to the first World of Choices Skilled Trades event for this year, May 7th, for building spaces. We want to thank RBC for funding the World of Choices. And we would also like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, where our relationship is based in peace and friendship. And we also acknowledge that people of African descent have been in Nova Scotia for over 400 years, and we honor those ancestors of African descent who came before us to this land. Ron here, so Red Seal Welder, owner of Ace Machining. We yield the floor to you.
Hello, my name's Ron Wallace, owner president of Ace Machining Limited. We started, myself and my business partner started in 2008. So we fall into the job shop area where people can walk in off the street, give us projects, we'll build them, and send them on the way. We do contract manufacturing now as well. Ultimately, everything in your life that you touch was handled by a machinist at one point or another. And most people don't know that or don't know what a machinist does. But the pen that I'm holding here, the mold to make the pen was made by a machinist. And, the watch, the mold to make the watch, the parts on your watch are made by a machinist. Everything in your life is touched by a machinist. Essentially what we do is it's like your woodworking shop, but with metal and plastics. So the demand for our products is greater than ever. It's probably the best time in the last 40 years to get into the trade because everybody has decided that we need to bring manufacturing back to North America. Now I'm going to talk a bit more about welding. So welding being my trade, the opportunity for welders it's not going to go away either. Everything, lots of things need to be welded. We have Irving Shipbuilding is building boats here. They'll be for the next 25 years putting out boats. Those ships, when they're done building those, the first ones will be in for their second end of life refits. So the boat building program is generational here. Outside of that, the other stuff, like we're manufacturing, we have one of my customers, they make a robotic flagging device, so they're automating traffic control. That's a huge amount of our welding. We've actually brought in robotics into the welding, so like the trade is still manual, but we're bringing, like, now you're starting to see robotics coming into it. You still need the ability to weld because you have to teach the robot how to weld. You have to tell it. So you can say, okay, the robot's going to replace my job. It's not. It's going to increase your wages because you'll be the skilled operator to run that stuff. For a shop like ours, there's different kinds of welding. Like we do the majority of our welding is done in this shop. So we have the guys, they're not outside in the weather. So when you take the welding course, you can kind of go a few different routes. You can go with the sanitary indoor welding, or you can end up in like equipment repair, and you might be laying underneath an excavator in a pit in the mud, right? So the trade it's a little more hands-on. It's a little more, you can get, I want to call it it's a dirtier trade, but I don't want it to sound bad, but you can end up where you have to be out in a snowstorm working on a piece of equipment versus the machinist guy. He's always standing in the heated shop in front of a piece of equipment. So our shop, and then there's different things. If you get on at Irving Shipbuilding, you're always going to be in the building welding the boats together. So there's multiple avenues you can take when you get into welding. It's fun at the end of the day to be able to see something that you were able to build from a drawing on a piece of paper or build with your hands. It's always impressive. I oftentimes, when I'm talking to people, to be able to read drawings in a good test for yourself to know if this is the trade you want to go into. If you can draw a three-dimensional box on a piece of paper, if you can visualize something in 3D and see it through to from a two-dimensional piece of paper and see it through to completion, then you'll be you know, you're one step ahead of most people. A lot of people can't draw or visualize in 3D, but if you're able to do that, then you're kind of one step ahead of a lot of people, because that's the major thing, is to look at something on paper and say, I can visualize that, I can build it, and then it's here in front of me.
Appreciate the insight into both trades today, and having somebody who can speak to our youth about both the machinist and the welding side of things. I have a couple of questions for you, if you wouldn't mind giving us a few minutes of your time. For a youth starting out, so say somebody in high school is like, this is what I want to do. They go and visit that Titan CNC. They do their research. Maybe they even register with NSCC and they join Ace Machining. What does the first little bit of their career look like?
Machinist trade is like a 2-year program.
Yeah.
They have the accelerated 1 year now, but that's a choice. Some people will stick around for the second year. They do a work term. Most NSCC courses offer a work term, so we encourage the students to come to us. It's a 5-week work term. Historically, if you work the work term, we give you the job for the summer, and it gives you the experience. We have more material coming through here, more jobs, more stuff.
Real life application.
Yeah, it's real life application. It's difficult to repeat that in school. So you get your summer in with us, kind of summer one. They're back to school for another year. You come back, do your work term again, and then you can come on full time.
Work-life balance in this field. This is something we're hearing from youth often now. It's like, we want to work, but we want to still live our lives. What does an average staff member's hours or a day look like?
So that's a good point there. We started, like, so we don't need to necessarily be a Monday to Friday, or sorry, like a 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of business, right? So when we started the company, our hours, we work 7 a.m. to 3:30. So you miss the traffic coming in, you miss the traffic going home. We really don't push for overtime, just for that reason, that like when we started, the trade was very, like, people would leave it to last minute Friday night, and you work weekends, and I worked 8 years of weekends, and it's not fun. So we really try not to. We just 40 hours a week is what we ask from our staff. So your 8-hour day, you get a 15-minute break in the morning, half-hour lunch hour. You're out of here at 3:30 in the afternoon. There's extra hours if people want it. The shop's open till 4:30. So if people want that extra hour, we don't pay overtime unless we're getting overtime, but you could, in theory, put in 45 hours a week of paid work. And if there's extra hours, safety is key here in our building. We have some pretty stringent safety policies here, where you must wear the appropriate equipment. Nobody works alone. Like nobody can be in the building by themselves working independent of the rest of us. So it's, we've had for 3 years running 100% safety audits from independent companies. So that, for us in our industry, is huge.
Ron, thank you so much for your time today, for joining us from Ace Machining to speak to youth about both the opportunities of welding and machining here in Nova Scotia.
No, thank you for having me. Anybody have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We're always happy for any of the teachers to jump on. If you're in the local area and you want to tour some kids through the shop, we're always welcome to, because what we do is pretty cool. Like, we make stuff from nothing. So when you see it, I still get excited every day.
All right. Thank you again, Ron. That was fantastic presentation. Again, we have the wonderful Chris Dill here from Irving Shipbuilding presenting for us. And he is a Local 1 Red Steel Pipefitter and Mechanical Superintendent.
So I started at the Halifax Shipyard in 2009, and I was on the tools at that point. And then I left in 2012 and I went to Alberta and I did what every other pipe fitter does from Nova Scotia. I went to Alberta and I worked in the oil fields. And then I came back to Halifax Shipyard and I took a job as a supervisor. And then I took a job as a manager. And then I took this job as superintendent. So I've been here on and off for nearly 10 years. I've watched the place evolve from kind of an old dingy shop to, a very state-of-the-art, pretty cool place to work. Honestly, it's interesting. We take small pieces of metal or big pieces of metal and we form them into a ship. It's incredible what they do here. So
that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like you really took all the steps up the ladder to get to where you are today. What
slow and steady, eh?
What set you on this path, choosing this career?
So I went to NSCC and I took the pipe trades course. The pipe trades course offers plumbing, pipe fitting, steam fitting. Okay. So after jumping around as a plumber, as a pipe fitter, I decided to become a steam fitter, pipe fitter. I was basically because of the money. Honestly, at that point in my life, the work is pretty similar, but pipe fitters and steam fitters seem to make more money. There was a lot of work going on out west, and I really enjoyed that. I liked traveling when I was younger. I do not like that aspect anymore. I have a little boy, and I need to be home with my wife and little boy. So being here at the Halifax Shipyard and being able to be home every night is really good for me. It's really good for your family, and it's really good for my mental health. Honestly,
it gives you that work-life balance.
It gives you a really good work-life balance. I'm with my wife and kid every night and every weekend, and that's what works for me.
Yeah. So. Did you always think that this would be the path you'd head down?
No, not necessarily. I jumped around a little bit. I wanted to be a professional boxer at one point in my life. Just wasn't talented enough. I wanted to start my own plumbing company. It didn't really work out. There's a lot of competition. I think once I found shipbuilding, I thought that it was a good place for me to be. I like working here. I like seeing things, big projects. I like seeing stuff like this get built, formed from small pieces of metal or flat pieces of metal into a ship. It's really cool.
It sounds like a really cool process to be a part of. One of the questions we had here from youth is what did you need to do in terms of both your education, but also that additional training, those other bits and pieces that you had to learn along the way to get into the shipbuilding sector?
Sure. So I became a pipe fitter, and then I became a supervisor. And while being involved in supervision, I also got my welding inspection ticket.
Yeah.
So that was the second step that kind of made management positions appealing to me, because I had that secondary thing to, that I don't know exactly how to explain it. I had that little bit of an extra. I guess I had that extra drive to try to become a little bit more than just a regular pipe fitter, I guess, which there's nothing wrong with being just a regular pipe fitter. But once I got into supervision and management, I really enjoyed that too. I like working with people. I like helping people. I like to, try to make a good team and see what we can do, see what you can accomplish. So I guess I've taken some leadership courses and some management courses and some safety courses, and that all kind of molded me to get into the position I'm in.
Yeah, so it wasn't just finish my NSCC, I'm good, I'm done, I'm going to stay on that path. You did some lifelong learning, if you will, and learned a bunch of transferable skills along the way.
Yeah, and that's the way I see it.
That's awesome. Could you tell us about maybe your typical workday when you first started, and then maybe your typical workday now?
Yeah, sure. My typical workday when I first started was very hands-on, installation of pipe, grinding, cutting, forming pipe. doing all the my typical day now is not like that. It's a lot more, a lot less exciting, I guess I would say, but it's still good. It's very satisfying, but it would be, I guess the things that I do now that are exciting is like when we finish a ship, I'll go on sea trials and I'll go offshore and, we'll test the ship and make sure it's functioning properly. And that is very fun. That's a life-changing experience. If you've never been on a ship in the middle of the ocean, spinning around in circles and flip-flopping back and forth in the middle of the night, it's quite the experience. That's open up to any tradespeople. When we do sea trials, when we finish a ship, depending on the situation or the job that you're doing at the time, you can be involved. Any tradespeople have been involved. The Navy's involved. It's really cool. It's open to a lot of people. Some people don't enjoy it because, seasickness
It's real.
if you can get through seasickness, the food's really good and the experience is really fun. So it's perks of this job and perks of working at the shipyard. Honestly, there's a lot of people that get to go on sea trials and it's really fun. So there's always like that kind of the excitement to my job, where before it was more installation and building things. Now I'm kind of trying to help my team more than anything. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to go off script a little more even. You mentioned in this that there's all sorts of trade. I mean, it can't be just pipe fitters who build a boat.
No.
So who else is part of that team?
We have ironworkers, welders, pipe welders, which is, just a welder that welds pipe. Painters, laborers. I mean, it takes all kinds of different types of people. We have welding inspectors. We have, quality control, quality assurance. There's all kinds of different folks that help build the ship. Is there any other trades that I'm missing? Ironworker? I'm not sure if I said iron. We're in desperate need for ironworkers. If anyone knows any.
Yeah, it sounds like all of the metalworking in every way, shape, or form. It sounds like Nova Scotia is in dire need of all of those fields.
I hate to use the word desperate. We could use another 20 pipe fitters and another 50 welders and that's just for our project, our current capacity, like what we need right now. When we start the CSC project, which is significantly bigger, which will take me to retirement and probably most of the kids that I'm talking to right now, it would take them to retirement. It's a huge project and we need tradespeople pretty bad. So if anyone knows any or wants to become, fire over a resume.
How can youth who are interested, what do you recommend that their steps be? They're done high school, they're heading out into the world now. How do they get to where you are?
NSCC has a it's been 20 years since I was there, but they had a really good program. The pipe trades program, I think it's a year now. That was really good for me. It was 2 years back then, but I believe it's a year. Trade school is I wouldn't say it's an absolute necessity to get into the Halifax shipyard, but it's pretty close. It's pretty hard to get in unless you're, an indentured apprentice, which takes schooling and stuff. But I mean, there's lots of videos online and of the AOP ships, the current ships that we're building. There's videos online of the CSC program that's coming up in the next couple of years. Watch them if you're interested. It's really neat what goes on here, and it's a lot. I'm so close to it that sometimes you kind of you stop. You're not living in awe anymore, I guess. But I brought my son in for family day a few months ago, and he was blown away. This place is so big, and there's big cranes, and there's portions of the ship they're all over the place, and there's a paint booth that's the size of 12 of my homes. Like it's really neat. It's eye-opening. It's a cool place to work. So
does Irving Shipyard support work terms or even visits or for youth who are interested?
We have a work term program right now. We've got 10 or 12 pipe fitters that just came from NSCC and they're doing their work term. And then they have programs where they'll bring young people in and run them through. I'm not 100% sure. If you want to talk afterwards, I can probably figure out how it goes. I know that they do. I'm just not sure exactly who we'd have to speak to, but we could definitely try and get some people in to tour around. It happens quite often. So
No, that's great. Is there anything else that we haven't chatted about that you'd like to share with us today, Chris?
No, I just think Nova Scotia is kind of we've always been shipbuilders, but now we're becoming like we are building, frigates for the Canadian Navy that are
It's not your
on par.
dory anymore.
No, I mean these are battleships, and it's going to be really cool to be involved in this in the next 20 and 30 years. It's going to be the new fleet of ships for Canada, so it's going to be pretty cool. If anyone's
Thank you so
interested,
much for joining us today, Chris, from Irving Shipbuilding. It was wonderful to have you here to share with you the opportunities that are available right here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
A big thank you to Rob and Chris for sharing about welding, machining, and pipe fitting as their trades today. Before we move on to our next speakers, I'd love to touch base with everyone a little bit more about transferable skills and how they apply to the trade sector.
We're going to talk a little bit today about transferable skills. What does that mean? What does it look like? And then we're going to chat a little bit about the trade sector and the opportunities and growth available there. So first up, transferable skills. Anytime you look at a job description, you see words like communication, multitasking, teamwork, creativity, critical thinking skills. These are those secret words that if you know what they mean in that career, they can get you that in. These are transferable skills. These key phrases represent skills that let you do your job well. They're not necessarily the specific things about that job, but they're the pieces that make you a great teammate, a great member of any team at any employer. They make the difference oftentimes between success and failure. So what is it? These transferable skills can be applied to all different areas of your life. They can be applied to your career, they can be applied to your social life, to your professional or academic life. And sometimes they're called portable skills, skills that you can take from one area of your life to another. I have a little video to share with you that talks to us a little bit more about what those transferable skills are.
As you prepare for a world of possible career paths, it's important to be able to identify the skills you bring to the table. Transferable skills can help open doors to new possibilities, even with little to no experience in a field. There are many skills that you develop throughout your life that are sought after in the working world. Let's look at 9 common transferable skills. The first skill is problem solving. Being able to think through and analyze a problem and then decide on an effective solution is vital in today's working world. Maybe you had a conflict with one of your partners for a project and you had to find a solution. Or maybe you were stuck on a project and reached out for help from your teacher to get clarity. Both of these scenarios demonstrate the ability to problem solve. Communication. Expressing yourself and effectively transferring information to others will help keep tasks at work moving forward and avoid unnecessary confusion. In school, you practice communication daily, on your math test, when you write an essay or when you're giving a presentation. Collaboration. Working with others is essential in almost all career paths. You develop this skill daily at school when you work with your peers and teacher. Persistence. This is the ability to persevere despite obstacles or challenges that you may face. This could look like showing up to that class that you find very challenging and trying your best, even when it's hard. Businesses look for this because when challenges arise, they can count on you to not give up and work hard to move the business forward. Critical thinking. Thinking through challenging problems with a logical and unbiased lens is key to making good decisions. Employers value critical thinking skills because they will know every decision comes from a well-informed discussion or thought process that considers the deeper ramifications. This can be seen in school when you do research projects, for example, because you analyze information and make reasonable judgments as to whether or not it is useful or relevant. Adaptability. We all know not everything goes as planned. Businesses want to know that you can adjust and pivot throughout changing circumstances. An example of adaptability in your life could be transitioning to remote learning throughout the pandemic. Digital literacy. This involves the ability to solve problems using technology in a responsible manner. This is sought after by employers given today's interconnected digital world. When you explore and use new or unfamiliar digital tools and emerging technologies, you are demonstrating your digital literacy skills. Financial literacy. The skill and knowledge to be able to manage your personal finances is essential to prepare for the working world. Financial literacy is at the core of making the right decisions around higher education to land your dream job, becoming an entrepreneur, or making the right decisions with the money you make. Creativity. Being creative doesn't just mean having artistic skills. Instead, it's having a unique perspective and thinking outside the box. You develop creativity as you brainstorm ideas, hypothesize, make connections, and are curious in your learning. This is sought after in the working world because creativity leads to innovative ideas and solutions for businesses to pursue and set themselves apart.
There were a couple of things in there that triggered for you. I know for me, as a creative person in high school, the ability to take some of those visual things that I really enjoy and apply them to the work that I do every day really helps fulfill me. I want to take a minute before we move on, just to take 30 seconds, not even. I want you to think of one or two skills that you have, things that you enjoy doing that you think could be transferable into other parts of your life. I hope you thought of one or two, maybe even 3 or 4. Next, I want to chat a little bit about skilled trades. The skilled trades are a sector that is critical here, especially here in Nova Scotia. We heard earlier today from 2 tradespeople who work here in the province that are really looking for people to join their sectors. And we're going to hear from a couple more as well. A skilled trade is a career path that requires hands-on work, some real specialty knowledge and specific training for that work. These workers often maintain infrastructure. They may work in our homes, our schools, our hospitals, roads, farms, parks, everywhere you can think of. The skilled trades affect our day-to-day life. They keep things running everywhere we go. There are more than 300 designated trades to choose from across Canada, a number of which are represented here in Nova Scotia. And they're across several different sectors as well. You may have heard that word a couple of times. We're going to look at a couple of sectors, and not by any means all, but some of the options you might find in those sectors. Construction's a really common one. You hear often of carpenters. You may have heard of millwrights, electricians, plumbers. Those types of things would fall into the construction sector. There's also the automotive sector. People who need to paint them, people who work on the agricultural equipment, heavy-duty techs, as well as our regular auto mechanics, and now the world of the electronic mechanic industry. So many different options in the automotive sector. Manufacturing is also a common place to see a trade sector, but there are careers that you may not have initially thought of that involved in that manufacturing sector, including draft people or mold designers. And then there's the service industry, which include our bakers, even our arborists, those are the people who work on trees, bike mechanics, hairstylists, horticulturalists. The list goes on and on and on for opportunities in the skilled trade. I have another little video to share with you. This one gets a little bit more into what all those different options are in the skilled trade sector.
Apprenticeship is a post-secondary learning option for individuals interested in learning a skilled trade. Apprentices work as electricians, carpenters, plumbers, cooks, and mechanics in the construction, manufacturing, transportation, and service sectors. Apprentices spend 80% of their time learning on the job from a mentor and 20% learning at school or a union training center. Apprentices accumulate hours when working on the job and complete training levels over a 2 to 4 year period. At the end, apprentices write a multiple choice examination And those who pass become fully certified journey persons. There are plenty of full-time employment opportunities in the skilled trades. Journey persons are retiring, and young people are required to replace them. Right now, employers are looking to hire apprentices in trades such as millwright, industrial mechanic, carpenter, and heavy-duty equipment mechanic trades. Employers provided this advice to young people who wish to prepare for an apprenticeship. 1. Take math and science courses. Knowledge of math and science will help you when learning a trade. Employers recommend taking grade 11 and 12 math and science courses. Tutors and online resources are available if you require additional help. If available at your school, take a trades and technology or shop class and learn to apply math and science concepts in practical ways. The majority of employers require apprentices to have a high school diploma. 2. Get your driver's license. Employers expect apprentices to have a driver's license. 3. Take safety courses. Take safety courses such as first aid so you can work safely on work sites. 4. Prove you can work on a team. Join a sports team or club or work on a group project. Listen to others, offer your ideas, and contribute positively to the team's success. Be open to learning new things and ask questions. Employers want young people who work well with their mentors, fellow apprentices, and co-workers. 5. Demonstrate you can be responsible. Attend school regularly. Show up to class on time. Get a part-time job or volunteer. Be the person who can be counted on. Get your work done. Earn while you learn. Apprentices are paid wages when at work, earning while they learn. Average apprentice salaries range from $25,000 to $50,000 depending on the trade. Once certified, journey persons earn $60,000 to $100,000 annually. Many apprentices graduate from their programs debt-free. Employers are looking for young people just like you to work in the skilled trades. Prepare yourself and get ready. A great career is waiting.
Now that you know a little bit more about what it means to apprentice and what it could look like for you moving forward, let's talk a little bit. Let's see if it lets me pass the screen. There we go. About what it means, how we can take it to the next level. So they mentioned a red seal or certified, becoming certified in your trade. We often hear that referred to as a red seal program. This is a program that has common standards across Canada and allows for the skills that you learn to be transferred from one province to another. These industries are heavily involved, industry is heavily involved in developing the standards for that national accreditation. And it's a partnership between federal government, provinces, and territories and the industries that they serve. So how do you get that red seal endorsement? You're going to need to apply for an apprenticeship program, which can involve a mixture of work hours, apprenticing in the field, and education. It can take anywhere from 2 to 5 years to get to that point that you've finished your apprenticeship. Through that time, though, you are working. You are working in the field and learning every day and growing in your skill set. At the very end, you write that multiple choice exam and get your endorsement. You can be an apprentice for a number of years before heading in to do that journey person or red seal certification. Thank you so much for joining us and learning a little bit more about transferable skills and skilled trades available to you, not only here in Nova Scotia, but across Canada. I hope you join us for some of our other World of Choices videos where we get to meet tradespeople from here in Nova Scotia who are going to tell us about their careers, how they got there, and the demand for their industry.
All right, so today we have Tanya Reddick from Construction Association of Nova Scotia, and she is the program lead for the Building Futures for Youth. So thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, Julie.
I've got a bunch of questions for you today, hoping to learn a little bit more about both the Construction Association of Nova Scotia and the work that you're doing with the Building Futures for Youth initiative.
Awesome, thank you.
Great. Could you tell us a little bit about both yourself and the Building Initiative or the Building Futures for Youth initiative?
Yeah, for sure. I am a graduate of St. Mary's University, where I have a business management degree or Bachelor of Commerce degree with a major in management. I have worked with property management for about 20 years now. And then I just decided it was time for a change and jumped into an open opportunity here at Construction Association. I came here almost 6 years now. When I started, I was with the projects department. So we looked at all of the public projects that were going on around the Atlantic provinces and post them to our website to make them easy and accessible for our members. And then about 2 years ago, a position came open within our organization as the program lead for the Building Futures for Youth program. And the BFY program is an amazing program that gives youth in high school an opportunity to explore careers in the construction trades through paid summer work. So it's a little bit better than a co-op situation because you get paid while you learn some skill and experience. It's basically a year-long process from the time that you apply to the program to the time that you go out onto the work site in July and August. It is a vigorous application process. There's an online application. We accept resumes and references, as well as cover letters. And then there is an interview with a panel that students get to experience. So a lot of interesting and very valuable things that youth get to experience early on in the stages. And then they get a chance to explore an interest in the construction trades. So when we pair the students up with their host employer, it's based on whatever they tell us their interest in the trades are. So if someone is, just interested in a career possibly in electrical, we'll pair them up with a Red Seal electrician. They'll go to work for 5 to 7 weeks over the summer with them. It's 200 hours of paid employment. And they'll gain not only wages, but valuable skills that they can take into their future. They also get co-op credits from their high school. So that enables them to be eligible to graduate a little bit earlier, like January rather than June. And they also get 300 apprenticeship credits. So these credits can be applied to any trade that the students may go into after they finish high school. So if, for example, a student was in the program, they were interested in electrical, and then when they got out of high school, they decided they were interested in being a chef. Those 300 credits that they got while they were in high school can still be applied, even though it is a different trade. So they're interchangeable. And there are also scholarships that Building Futures for Youth graduates are eligible for at NSCC, should they choose to go down that path.
What an amazing opportunity for you that just goes, so just let me recap for a minute. So they can apply in high school. What grade?
Grade 10 and 11.
Okay, so in grade 10 and 11, they can apply.
Yeah.
They go through a process. They can have a paid summer job. They can then use those references, that time, that experience to apply to NSCC, take those credit hours with them, and potentially get a scholarship.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I feel like if you're a kid who's interested in working in the building sector in any way, shape, or form, this is like a no-brainer.
It absolutely is. And it's literally based on an interest that they may have. So it doesn't take much for them to get into it, just showing the interest. And, maybe they're the type of folks that like to do stuff around the house, small repairs, or they like to get their hands into things in the garage or things like that. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for them to explore And those skills and experience they can put on their resume, right? And
Yes,
take
we were
that
talking
forward.
earlier today about transferable skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. So we're heading into a summer season now. Can you give us some examples of things that youth in Nova Scotia are heading out to do this year?
Absolutely. So before we send them out onto the work sites, we send them off to NSCC for safety training. They do get 2 certifications in fall protection and hazard identification and control. And some of the interests that they have are welding, painting and decorating. So I'm connecting with host employers in their region. Generally, we don't like them to have to travel more than 20, 25 minutes to get to work. Because at that age, travel can be a bit of a challenge, right? So we take the time to make sure that it's a fit for both the student and the host employer. And then we arrange a time through a supervising teacher that is going to be with them throughout the summer process. They set up an orientation meeting and then arrange the pay and how they're going to get paid and what day they're going to start.
That's so exciting. And I love that it's really specific to where the youth who are interested are. It's really nice to hear that youth in Nova Scotia can gain experiences in their own home community.
Yeah, yeah. And it allows them to build those relationships in the community with potential future employers. And the employers the same going back, they get to engage with the schools and the teachers in the schools and just build solid community relationships.
We learned a little bit earlier today about PPE, about personal protective equipment. How does that work for these youth?
So again, they're currently in safety training right now. They get 6 days of safety training with the NSCC instructors and Construction Safety Nova Scotia. They do get those 2 certifications as well as projects that they work on. And then they just learn the basics of being safe on a work site or in a shop situation.
That's very cool. So these are opportunities for the students we're talking to today, who are our high school students in Nova Scotia who will be seeing this and then learning about the fact that they can essentially start their trades career now.
Yeah,
That's
basically,
amazing.
that's exactly it. There is 16 is the minimum wage to start in the trades. And yeah, starting it now gives them that head start of whatever their future looks like. And the good thing about it is when they start early and they figure out that that's not for them, it's not such a setback. You haven't put a lot of time into something that's not for you or a lot of money, right? So it's a great leap.
Okay, so where do they go to apply?
Buildingfutures.ca.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the kiddos before we head off today?
The only thing that I would like to say is don't say that you can't until you've tried it.
100%. 100%. I love that message, especially as a woman who my husband and I built our home over COVID, like physically the things I learned that I can do that I thought I couldn't. Don't let can't stop you for sure. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you giving us this amazing information for our youth.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to meet you both.
All right, so now we have Robert Coutinho from BMR Engineering, Structural Engineering, and he is a drafter.
Rob, thank you for joining us as we talk to a bunch of youth in Nova Scotia today about their world of choices, looking specifically in the trades sector and the technical world here in Nova Scotia. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So I'm a drafter with a structural engineering firm. We're considered a consultant, and basically what that means is We work with architects, other engineers like mechanical and electrical engineers, and collectively we work on large scale commercial projects. So if you've been around Halifax or Nova Scotia at all in the last couple of years, you've probably seen no shortage of construction sites and large buildings going up all around the city. We're kind of the people behind that sort of make that happen from a design phase. So collectively, we design the buildings that you see going up. Specifically for the company that I work with as structural engineers, we kind of design the skeleton of the building. So the general layout, all the aesthetic stuff, you know, say it's an apartment building, the layout, all the wall finishings, where the windows go, all this stuff, that's all up to the architect. We're the ones that, as structural engineers, that kind of make the bones of the building. So in our office, we have engineers. So to do that, you would go to university and become a structural engineer. They sort of size everything. So whether it's, you know, your beams and your columns that make up the frame, my job is to sort of draw it out. And so I create drawings every day. And then the contractor, the guy who actually builds the building, he takes ours and then our drawings, and then he uses those to make the building happen. So that's kind of a large overview, but that's a general idea.
So I'm feeling like you're a translator of sorts. You take the fancy talk and the decisions and ideas and draw them into something that the construction team can work with.
Exactly. So there's two kind of main programs we use. A lot of people have heard of AutoCAD. That's what we use a lot of, and AutoCAD's been around for quite a while. There's a new program as well called Revit, and that's more of it allows you to also work in kind of 3D models. So a lot of our new projects, even though I'm mostly drawing in 2D, Revit has the neat function that it can kind of take what you draw in 2D and represent it in a 3D way. So we can make 3D models of our buildings. But yeah, a translator is a good way to sort of describe what I do. So basically, we get a general layout from an architect. The engineer will take a red pen and mark all over it and say, we need these items here to make the building stand up. And then I create our own set of drawings based on what the engineer provides me. So it sort of complements what the architect does. So some projects are quite small, like we do a lot of stores, like say grocery stores, like your Sobeys. Some of those might have, you know, 5 or 6 drawings in them. And then your large, like multi-story, say 20-story apartment buildings, those could have hundreds of drawings that go into that. So, yeah.
Rob, what brought you to this as a career option?
Well, I had previously gone to university and studied psychology, so I thought I was going to go on a much different route with my life and careers. And I enjoyed my time. I went to Dalhousie, so I enjoyed my time there. And I did have a few jobs that I worked at after that, but I realized kind of in my mid-20s, I needed a bit of a change. And I always liked sort of the space between science and art. Like I never really saw myself as a true scientist or a true artist in either fashion. The thing I like about drafting is that you get to there is a creative element every day. You know, you get to put your own sort of spin on the drawings you produce, but at the same time, it's a very technical field. So it kind of you kind of get the best of both worlds, I think. So that was kind of what drew me towards a career in drafting and construction. And I didn't really know exactly. I didn't think I'd be working at a structural firm. I thought I'd probably go more the architectural route, and I can get into the details and the program I went through and how that works out in a bit. But yeah, it just happened. One of my instructors in school, you know, was one of my favorites, and we got along well. And he led me a certain way, and here I am. So
I really like that piece about the best of both worlds, being able to take the creative and art side that you enjoy and put it together with the more science and tech side and find something that works on both sides of the piece, like of those
Absolutely.
transferable skills that you enjoy.
Because at the end of the day, like whether it's you're working in an architectural firm or a engineering firm, like we're considered design professionals. So there's absolutely creative elements to it, but we're all sort of governed by building codes and procedures and a lot of scientific knowledge that has gone into why things work, especially now as things change. There's much more of a consideration for environmental concerns on making buildings more efficient. So you're sort of governed by both. You need to be creative and you want your buildings to look nice, but at the same time, you have to follow the rules at the same time.
If you could go back to your high school self and be like, these are the skills that you have or that you need to develop or that you really want to focus on, what would you say?
Well, in terms of the specific program that I took with drafting, you do have to do a bit of math and a bit of physics, but if it's not overly rigorous. So really, if you can get through high school math and physics with any sort of proficiency, then that's pretty good. A lot of what I do is there's a lot of in-job training that you learn. Really, your skills come with experience. I'd say one of the most important skills in terms of what we do is attention to detail, because there's a lot of overlap between it's not just conveying a piece of information in one place. Sometimes you have to convey the same piece of information in multiple spots, say on a set of drawings. So making sure everything makes sense, and sometimes it comes down to the fine details on how things get put together. So I think that would be one of the most important skills to sort of work on. Trying to think as well, like some schools differ. I know, like the high school I went to did have a course that we did a little bit of CAD work, and we did some we actually built like models of houses and stuff, and I remember really enjoying it in school. So, but again, for whatever reason, I thought I was going to go a much different route. So I wish I had told myself then, you really like this, you should. I didn't even think about it, and maybe my guidance counselors didn't even mention that that could be a career option at the time. But yeah, if the kids have any opportunities to play around with CAD, it's a good opportunity to get a sense of what the career and job would be like and whether or not they think it might fit for them. I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but
yeah, no, that's great. Just those opportunities to really share. And I love that you shared that your career path changed, because too often we head out into the world thinking, I'm going to do this. And then we find a passion somewhere over here that connects to some other part of us, and that's okay. What would you say demand is like for drafters in Nova Scotia right now?
it's pretty high. I would say maybe not as high as some of the other trades. I know like careers like masons and electricians and a lot of the more physically demanding on construction site, what people think is of the more traditional trades, those are insanely high right now. At one point, it may have even gotten worse since I started 6 years ago. But at one point, it was for every 4 people leaving, there was only 1 person replacing them. That's not quite as high with drafting, but I will say the program I took, there wasn't a lot of people in the program. There was probably at NSCC, there's sort of 2 avenues you can take, which more or less both direct you in the same direction of becoming a drafter. So there's a designated drafting program called drafting, but then there's also the course I took, which was called Architectural Engineering Technician. And there's 2 or 3 different courses that separate the programs, but more or less they both gear you towards the same type of careers. So over the combined 2 courses, I'd say there's maybe 50 people that graduated. So not a super high number. So if you do go through the program and you do complete it, the success rate for people getting jobs is pretty close to 100%. Like,
Okay.
so with the program, there's a 5-week work term at the end. So the professors and the instructors are great at helping students get set up and find placements, because they're pretty much all previous people who've worked in the industry themselves. So they're great resources for helping you do that. It's not entirely all on your shoulders when it comes to that time. And then, yeah, I would say for my class, the only people who didn't immediately walk into jobs were people who, decided to do some other stuff, or move to a different spot, or, I mean, they had other things going on. But anyone who was at all eager to find a job pretty much walked into one. And I know there are a lot of firms, both architectural or engineering, who are looking for people. So there's a good opportunity to sort of move around. If you start out in the work terms and that company doesn't seem necessarily like the right fit for you, there's definitely opportunities to move around.
That's great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our youth today?
I guess one thing is, it's a little bit of a demanding job, but at the same time, the thing I like about it is there's constant opportunities to learn, and there's never sort of a day that's like the others. That some people might not like that. For me, it's great. 6 years in, and I'm still learning new stuff every day, which can be challenging sometimes, because the learning curve is steep. So it can take a while to get really proficient at your job. But I like the fact that throughout your entire career, the industry is always changing. New technologies come in, the way we make buildings change. So there's always new opportunities to learn new things. So it's probably one of the things I like the most about it. So definitely an exciting industry to get into.
That's great. Thank you, Rob, so much for joining us from
Yeah, my
BMR
pleasure.
Structural Engineering today. It was great to have you here to chat with you about the opportunity of drafting here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for joining us today on our World of Futures journey into the building environment. A huge thank you to our many sponsors: RBC Future Launch, Amazon, Avanade, the Taco Bell Foundation, General Motors, KPMG, and CNA. But mostly, thank you to our guest speakers from Ace Machining, from Irving Shipbuilding, from Building Futures for Youth at the Construction Association of Nova Scotia, and from BMR Structural Engineering. It was wonderful to hear about all of the amazing opportunities in the skilled trades for our youth here in Nova Scotia. We hope you'll join us for another World of Choices later this month on May 22nd, May 30th, or June 5th. Thank you.